what episode this is that Christy Winter-Scott and I are bringing you on the Her Hoop Stats podcast network, but Debbie Antonelli and Christy Winter-Scott are back with you, and we are excited about being here. Christy, how's it going?
It's going great, Deb. You know, the summer is hot and fun and full of hoops, so I love it. But how about you? You're doing all right?
I know. I was last week, I was in the West, so Seattle was like 50, and then I hit Phoenix and Vegas, and it was like 110 at both places. So it was quite a swing for the heat, but you know, everybody around the country is dealing with it, but it doesn't stop me from being outside. I played golf today, and it was 95 degrees and sunny, and you know, it's not going to keep me. Just put enough sunscreen on and go. Yep. Boom.
Yeah, it was like 117 when I got in my car the other day, and I had to open up all the windows. My sunglasses fogged up. I was like, this is crazy. But we're still here, so it's all good.
Yeah. So let's dive into a little mailbag, if you will. We've had a couple of listeners and viewers have some really good questions for us. And one is, we're both analysts. There's play-by-play. There's also a reporter on most of the games that you and I call, whether it's ESPN or with the Washington Mystics package in your case, the Indiana Fever package on my case. What would you say to someone who wants to know why announcers are telling more stories and not sticking with the game?
Oh, boy. First of all, that's a great question. To answer that question, I would say, you know, the players are individuals, right? They're people who have had great epic journeys to get to where they are. And sometimes the stories help motivate the younger generation of boys and girls who are watching, which are a ton of people, millions, right, are watching these games. So I think outside of just all of the statistical information, you want to know who they are and how they got here. They didn't just land on the top of the mountain. They had to climb up, and they had challenges in front of them. So I think they're worthy of their stories being told, and not that it takes up an egregious amount of time during games. I think there's a place for both to occur, right? Who are these people? How did they get here? And then how are they doing in this game? And then you tell the how and the why. And that's what you taught me about being a great analyst, right? How and why. I'll never forget that. You gave me that sound advice.
Well, thank you for that. I didn't know that anybody was actually listening to what I might have said.
That's what my dad taught me. So, yeah.
Yes, I think humanizing and strategizing are really important parts of what we do, and there is a balance. I think there are times in the game to tell a story, mostly when they're at the free throw line. The difference now in our business of television is there is more inventory being sold, so there's more advertisers that come in between free throws and more coming in and out of breaks. There's more advertisers. So we're losing some of that time that we usually had. I think that has pushed people in game to call some stories out. I do agree with you. Everybody has a story. It's interesting to find out how, who, and what, why, all that you just said. I think that's important. But I also, for me, you know, I want to break the game down, because to me, telling the story of somebody building their game around playing in this league, how they had to work is really important. And if there's a good number that backs that up, I want to do that too. The other thing I would say is, for me, humanizing, I mostly spend my time on the coaches, because I think when people see a coach on the sideline, they think they know something about them. You know, you are 56% of how you communicate is your body language when people first see you. So they are drawing conclusions about coaches on the sideline. And sometimes coaches that are animated and excited maybe give off the wrong impression of who they are. Yeah. I mean, I've had a couple of technical fouls as a coach on the sideline in rec league. I also had a technical as a player. So, you know, when coaches get technicals and when things happen on the sideline, the way they handle their business over there, they know exactly what they're doing. And I think sometimes you can help with a story about who they are and where they came from as well. It's not just about the players, but I'm sorry I've rambled on and on here, but that's how I'm feeling about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also, like, the players who are moms, we're moms. So we understand, like, we're speaking to more than just the next generation of players. We're speaking to moms who may not play basketball or any other sport, but are working moms, right? And they have to understand what that feels like and what that would be to be a professional athlete and a mom of two, like Skylar Dickens-Smith, like Dearica Hamby. They come right back and they get right to business. And so that, to me as a mom, right, is motivation. And I'm not going to play anymore, right? But I think just mentally, just understanding who they are as people, as moms, right? I think it really carries a lot more weight than, how many points they average and how many rebounds and all of that. I think who they are as people and what they're balancing off the court and what kind of brand they're building as parents, as moms, I think is a really strong statement for the league.
So the next question is, we know Cheryl Reeve will coach the national team. We don't know yet who's going to coach the WNBA All-Stars, because isn't it the coach that's in first place on the top of the standings, right?
That's what I thought. And what is it, New York and Connecticut right now?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be kind of interesting for Sandy Brondello, the Australian Olympic coach, to be coaching the WNBA All-Stars against the national team? I think that would be kind of ironic.
Absolutely. And isn't her husband, Olaf, isn't he assistant coach in New York too? So it would be that whole thing would be very intriguing.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. That's a good storyline. There's a lot of storylines in the All-Star game to keep up with. I do think the All-Star game is going to be competitive. I don't think anybody's backing down. I think it will be a lot of offense, but I do think they're going to compete. The national team's using this as a tune-up, right? I think the All-Stars are going to bring it.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I think it's going to be great. I've been watching some of the NBA Summer League where they get 10 fouls. I wonder if they're going to increase the foul again, because I think it's going to be super physical, but obviously a lot of fun for both teams to compete.
All right. So when you look at Indiana, they have had one of the best climbs, right? They had the horrible start, right? The tough schedule, bad start, just couldn't get things going. Now, when you watch them, like the WNBA has a tool where it charts the progress of teams, and Indiana's on the rise. So Caitlin Clark has not been blitzed as much as she was early on. Do you think that's because they have improved? Do you think it's because of the teams that they're playing just naturally don't blitz ball screen action, or is it a combination?
I think it's a combination. And I think right before Indiana came here to DC, I asked Mystics head coach Eric Thibault that exact question, because out of the gates, I think it was 65 times she had been blitzed in the first 9 or 10 games. And that was more than any player in the league, and not just for any rookie, but any player in the league. So they were just trying to show her a lot of bodies early. But I think she has such wisdom and craftiness with her passing decisions. So if you blitz and you're slow at one beat on your rotation out of that blitz, she knows where to put the basketball. And I think, she just had a triple double. I mean, she had 13 assists. And so she has the defensive attention from opponents, but I think she's making teams pay for blitzing. So I think that's why we've seen less and less blitzing on Caitlin Clark, because she has like the quickest eye and the quickest recognition. And if you are slow on your rotation out of it, it's got to be 2 on the ball, 2 people, 1 pass away, and a safety out of that. And if you miss on any of those second or third line coverages after the blitz, she's going to cook you and she's going to expose you. So I think maybe that has been a simplified reason as to why teams have stopped blitzing her as much.
I think 4 of the last 5 games, she's been in double-digit assists. And I think if you watch Indiana, and I'm fortunate enough to watch them a lot, Aaliyah Boston is the top target on the short roll. You don't see Boston rolling all the way to the rim anymore like she was early in the season. So I think that adjustment is where it's not just Caitlin and the chemistry, it's Aaliyah Boston and the chemistry as well. And I think it's a 2-way street there for both of them, and they definitely have that connection going. And I quite frankly think Aaliyah Boston's getting much better in the short roll, making decisions, scoring, putting it on the floor, reading the defense. All of that took time for her as well, and adjusting to the pace. So it looks good. And that's right. A triple-double. No rookie in the history of this league has ever had one. Can you believe that, Christy? That shocked me, because I had the Phoenix game where she needed 1 rebound or she would have had it then. I was kind of surprised to know that no one had ever had one.
Yeah, I was surprised as well. But I mean, surprised that no one had done it, not surprised that she did it. But I mean, she's just been amazing with how she's been able to read and react with when to score the basketball, when to set up and facilitate to her teammates who are in their sweet spots when she gets them the basketball. So I think it's really been fun to watch. But yes, I am indeed surprised that that has never occurred before in the WNBA for a rookie.
And then there's Angel Reese for Chicago, who has 13 consecutive double-doubles, breaking Candace Parker's record for most consecutive double-doubles over multiple seasons, which to me means Candace ended the season with a double-double streak and then started the season with a double-double streak, if you're reading into that correctly. It's impressive what Angel has done. We've talked about her motor and her energy before. What would you say about this record? And do you see it ending?
No, I don't see it ending, because I mean, her motor is never ending. Okay. So Angel Reese, 13 double doubles consecutively. I saw, that last game, what did she have? 19 or something rebounds. It's just insane to me that she's been able to, people understand that she's going to bring that to the table and can't take it away. So yes, I see it continuing, I don't know, for the rest of the season. Yeah. That would be pretty stunning and surprising if she can stay with that pace. But I think what she's been able to do, and in terms of her comfortability as a rookie, she's found her role for the team. And I think Teaspoon has, did you see the interview, post-game interview where she was almost in tears, just talking about the relationship that they have and how she's just feeding into her and just pouring into her to stay with it and to keep working hard. So yes, I think she can be consistent with it. I think she can have, even more and more double doubles moving forward in her young career. But wow, to already surpass savant like Candace Parker, that's a whole salute. Salute. Yeah. That's insane. And people knowing it and can't stop it. So
yeah, I think so. We like to talk about her motor on the offensive end because she goes and gets it. Okay, she is going to the glass every time. She's elusive. She's quick. And then on the defensive end, I think part of it is their coverages, the way they guard ball screen offense. And she's never that far away from the paint and the way they cover. So she goes to the glass there. She's able to pick up some defensive rebounds. I don't see the streak ending. I see, because she gets to the free throw line. And it wasn't lost on me. She had a couple of triples in one game last week as well. So I was like, okay, Angel, I didn't think we were going to see that till after the Olympic break. But it's impressive. It's impressive if she, I always say the same thing. If she keeps working on her face-up game, she is going to be a lot of trouble for other teams to deal with just because of the motor and the things that she already has. And then, of course, Caitlin and the triple-double. I don't think that's the last one she's going to get either. I think there's more coming. And I think, the All-Star break and the Olympic break is going to be great for her as well. And of course, one of the storylines is Caitlin and Angel, and we've already heard Caitlin say she doesn't want it to be about Caitlin and Angel and that chemistry or not chemistry, whatever it might be. Right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the playoff race because I want to stick with Chicago here. Right now, at the time of this taping, right, there are 3 teams vying for that sort of last 2 spots, right? It's Indiana, Chicago, and it's Atlanta. Right now, Indiana has a tiebreaker over both teams. Chicago has an incredible defensive numbers, right? So I looked some stuff up before we came on today, Christy. They're number 1 in points in the paint. They're number 1 in fast break points. They're number 1 in offensive rebounding percentage. They're number 1 in percentage of 2-point field goals. They're at the bottom shooting the 3. But as much as they offensive rebound, and certainly we talk about Angels offensive rebounding, they're 4th in the league in offensive rebounding. So there's 3 other teams that rebound on the offensive end better than Chicago. Do you think they have enough offense to be able to make it through the playoffs?
I do. I love the fact that they are maximizing possessions by getting to the glass, even though they're not leading in the offensive boards. I think to be leading in second chance points tells the story there. And how do you not check off Angel Reese when the shot goes up? Because I saw her yesterday just float right in there in front of the rim and tip one in. Like you got KYP, right? You got to get a body on. But with that being said, they're getting second and third cracks at it. So I think their threes might not be their MO. They don't need it to be, right? If they're attacking and shooting high percentage shots in the paint, I see it being okay, right? I'm all for paint points. So, but I think with what Chicago was able to do, I think Cardozo didn't really play that much in the last game. And I think it's just a feel. And that's what Teaspoon explained post game. I listened to her presser. So they could go big, they can go small, and still, even with going in that small lineup, they're attacking the painted area. So it might not be for spray out triples, but they're getting downhill and they're getting a piece of the paint and they're scoring in there. And if they don't get that initial shot to go, guess who's right there? The leader in the league in second chance points is Angel Reese, and offensive rebounds is Angel Reese, right? So I think for me, I'm excited about what they've been able to do without, following the learning curve of analytics and all the threes going up at a high volume. They're just like, okay, that's fine. But guess what we're going to do? We're going to play our basketball, our style of basketball, and we're going to attack the cup. And that's what they've been doing extremely well.
Okay, let's talk about Atlanta, because we don't talk about them very much with Tanisha Wright. I'm not sure they have enough offense without Ryan Howard, who they miss desperately, which is going to take me to some injuries and some players. But what is your thoughts about it, where Atlanta is right now?
I like the fact that Atlanta has found some consistency, because at the beginning they were up and down. And even with Ryan Howard in the lineup before she got injured. But without her, you've really seen some stagnant style on the offensive end, because they don't have a go-to late in the shot clock, right? Shots go up, but it doesn't seem like it's planned out. Like, okay, with Ryan out, this is our plan B, when it comes down to a momentum swing that we need, or late shot clock shot, and not have it feel like a grenade with the pin pulled out. And here you go. That's what it kind of looks like. But I mean, that's not a knock on Tanisha Wright. I think she's done an amazing job with the team. But I think they need to refocus and resculpture who that go-to player is for them offensively. And I think that will help the continuity of the offense flow as a unit in the absence of Ryan Howard.
With 24 seconds on the shot clock, you got to go quickly. That's why you don't see anybody walking the ball up the floor. I mean, if you have to wait to the end of the shot clock to get into your third and fourth options, that could be troublesome for some teams, like you're talking about with Atlanta. But then if you have a player like Alicia Gray, who can break off the offense anytime she wants and go get a bucket or go off the bounce and get fouled, that affects your ability to rebound as well. So there's a lot of components to go into it that, you have to understand and study the game enough to be able to know what is the best way for teams to attack based on their personnel. And nobody does that better than the coaches in this league at a very high level. All right, I want to talk about injuries, because we mentioned Ryan Howard. Jordan Canada is still out. She came back and then she's out. In Washington, Brittany Sykes and Shakira Austin hopefully will be back, along with Carly Samuelson, who is a bigger loss than people realize. I don't think anybody cuts better in the league than Carly Samuelson off of screening, timing, action, all the things that she does to create space. I think that is a big miss, because that's not something you see on the stat sheet. And then Azurá Stevens is back. She came back for the Sparks. I definitely think she will provide a spark, and she certainly did in her first game. I know there's other injuries across the league. Dantas is back for Indiana. She seemed to be able to help them some, and I know she will. Benley's back for Indiana. She can help them. What are you thinking about some of the injury situations based on some of the teams that I might have mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, number one, with Washington, I mean, it's just a litany. And, with Shakira Austin being out, Brittany Sykes, I mean, that's defensive stoppers inside and out. And that really changes the dynamic offensively as well for what they bring to the table. But you're right, with Carly Samuelson being out with that fractured hand, that is a definite difference maker. She's a defensive stopper. She's taken charges early this season. So, I mean, there's a lot missing there. But then also Stephanie Dolson was out with illness, and then Emily Angsler was out last night with an illness. So it's just, this revolving door. But I think it's really commendable to see teams even go through these injuries and still be able to play at a high clip of effectiveness and efficiency. But for me, it was, with Nafisa Collier being out. She's also a member of USA Basketball. Hopefully it's plantar fasciitis. So hopefully that's something that she can kind of work through. I mean, she's on the USA team, and Cheryl Reeve is obviously going to be smart with the utilization of her role headed into the Olympic Games. But I think it impacts a lot, right? Ryan Howard was on the 3v3 team, and Cameron Brink, who tore her ACL, was on the 3v3 team. So it changes more than just the WNBA season for a lot of these players, but their opportunities to compete internationally on the Olympic level as well are also impacted.
So we have a couple of episodes before we get to the Olympic break. Are we taking a break from Her Hoop Stats podcast network, Christy?
No way. Hoops never stop. Let's go.
If for real, I mean, you used to have a time where there was a break in basketball, but there is no break anymore. I mean, and I'm fine with it because we work the whole college season and we go right into the WNBA and then we go right into the college season. It's fine with me.
Get right into it.
Yeah. Is there anything else for the good of the cause that you're thinking about around the W this past week or advancing something for next week you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's momentum, headed into the break. That's a long break for teams to be separated from one another and fully whole. But again, we were just talking about the injuries. A good time to get healthy is over this break too. But I think leading into the break, I think I'm really looking for, teams to just have strong momentum, like swing for the fences and go all out, like no holds barred. Just go out and hoop and play with a competitive fire and try to be the best team you can before this break, whether you have injuries or not on your roster. But for me, I'm just looking for, teams that are at the top. Can you maintain that, right? Vegas is playing extremely well. Asia Wilson, the all-time leader in scoring there. And the alumni that were invited back the last couple of games over the 4th of July weekend, I thought that was beautiful to see. But I think just more of that kind of momentum and that unified attack that we've seen the top tier players or top tier teams play with. I want to see if they can maintain that and carry solid momentum into that Olympic break.
Yeah, I'm excited about all that too. That was a good get on Mark Davis, the owner of the Las Vegas Aces, inviting the alums back, including the San Antonio team. I think that's remarkable that he does that every year. And in Vegas, I mean, I think he's paying for their whole trip to come back. I mean, that is really remarkable to be able to do that. But we know he has bottomless pockets, right? So, yeah. He is the nicest guy too. Sitting next to him at games when you have games at Vegas, I've had 3 games there. He sits right next to me and he talks to me the whole time, and it's fun. It's really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's great. I know more teams are looking to do something like that, right? I know Monique Curry was out there. I know one of my college teammates, Jessie Hicks, she was out there and took her daughter and had really a great time. I think it was close to 40 alums that were for the 2 home games that they had over the 4th of July weekend. So they brought them out to midcourt. And if you haven't seen that video, it's very cute and a beautiful sight to see. So you love the reach back and, tapping into the foundation of what women's basketball has been about. So it was really, really beautiful.
Well, it's time for all of us to celebrate. Everybody should be celebrating. And I think the stories of the past are so important to advance the future. So, these players today need to know how good they have it and what it was like before. And that's why gratitude and a humble understanding of where the game has grown to and how quickly, certainly in the last couple of years, things have changed. So it's all good. And you know what? Vegas only has 14 different price points at hotels. I mean, I'm like the Vegas Research Chamber of Commerce based on, my previous discussions in college sports about why we should have had the Sweet 16 in Vegas, but we won't do that today. We'll do that another time we get to the college season. Christy, thank you for being with me. I love being with you. This is, I don't know what episode number we are, like 6 or 7, something like that, but it's been a lot of fun so far.
Oh, it's been super fun always with you, Deb. And I have to shout out Nikki McCray-Pinson, who unfortunately passed away 1 year ago yesterday. And a quick Nikki McCray-Pinson story. She spent a lot of time, 9 years, in fact, at South Carolina as an assistant coach with Dawn Staley. Dawn Staley had a great post about her yesterday. But Nikki had a son, Thomas Jr., right? Her husband's name's Thomas Jr., but she really didn't want to have Thomas be a junior. And then Dawn Staley said, well, you can have his middle name and that'll be associated with you. So his middle name is Nixon, but Nick's son, right? So it's Nick's son. So I just thought that was a precious story that Dawn shared. But rest in peace, Nikki. We love you and the Pinson family and the McCray family, sending lots of love.
One of my favorite things to always have a conversation with Nikki about was that she is forever a great trivia question. And that is, who led the ABL in year one in scoring in the league? And if you remember, Nikki was coming from Tennessee. She was a great defensive player, two-time SEC Player of the Year, two-time All-American, but nobody really talked about her offense. And when she went to the ABL in the first year and she played for the Columbus Quest for Brian Agler, she led the league in scoring. I think that's something I always pay tribute to her for, because I knew how hard she worked to get there. And that's what I think about when I think about Nikki. It's just a great little piece of history about her place in the game that she'll always have, just like she'll always have Nick's son in her son's middle name. And yes, may she rest in peace. All right, Christy, good stories. We could go on and on. Maybe we should have our listeners throw a name at us, any name in the history of the game. And I bet between the two of us, we might have a story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Send us some names and we'll shoot it back out to you. Right. Oh, look at the flick. It's still there.
The Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. That's Christy. I'm Debbie. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.